Hello again. Today we are talking about project managers. Two questions at hand. One, does adding project managers to projects automatically guarantee success? You can probably guess the answer. Next question is, what can project managers do to improve their project's chance of success? So we're going to start with the first one. When you add a project manager to a project, does that guarantee success? That's a no. I think that's pretty well a given. I think we all understand that. There's a few reasons why, although having good processes can improve your chances of success, just adding a PM to a project is not going to make it successful. That's just not going to do it. Now, if you have a really experienced project manager, they know what they're doing, and here's the key, they have the time to do those things. Can't overload them, give them 10 projects and expect them all to come out successful. That's not going to work. So if you have someone with the experience, with the knowledge, and who actually has the time to properly manage the project, yes, it's going to increase your chances of success quite a bit. So what if you don't have those things? Well, there are a few kind of key concepts that you can look at to improve your chances of success if you don't have experienced project managers, if you have too many projects for your project managers. In that case, I would certainly recommend you look at long-term. Do you need more PMs on staff? Is this just a short-term crunch where you just need to kind of get through a cycle, get through this batch of projects, and then things will even out? Or is this a long-term thing where you really need to look at your hiring? So definitely consider that. But in terms of how to make a project successful, oh gosh, there's so many tips and tricks. But we're going to talk about some of my favorites, especially for overloaded project managers. If you have too much on your plate and you don't have time to properly go in and do all the checks and balances that are required, there's just a few key things that are going to help you make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Although there is a point where things just naturally fall through the cracks. If you've got 10, 12 projects on your plate, even 8 or 10 large ones, it's inevitable. It's just going to happen. It's just part of the process. But if you don't have quite that many projects, there are definitely some steps you can take to improve your chances of success. So let's start talking about those. First and foremost, I would say block out time for management of your projects. So make sure you have some time allocated every week, every day. I would definitely suggest, maybe a 30-minute block on a Monday morning, just to see where things stand and what you need to focus on that week. And then if you can block out 10 or 15 minutes every morning just to double check on things and see what might be behind, where your team is blocked, where they need some help, some support, that's definitely the cadence I would recommend there. No pun intended. So make sure you block out some time and block it off on your calendar, because if not, that's going to get filled up with meetings. We all know that, right? So block it off on your calendar. Don't overblock it. Don't overbook it with client meetings or whatnot. Make that time that is completely reserved for managing your projects, because if you have that time and you make space for that time, it's going to pay off in spades. So now that you have the time, what do you do with it, right? You need to identify certain key metrics. And if you guys want me to pull together a list of my key metrics, what I watch for on projects, let me know in the chat, in the comments below, and I will pull that together for you. I'll make that available to everybody. But you want to identify certain key metrics that you're keeping an eye on. Some examples of those are your tasks completing on time. Do you have overdue tasks that are not being addressed? Do you have a lot of blockers on your stories? Are your sprints completing in time? Or are you punting a lot of stories? That's another kind of key question there. You need to make sure that you have enough time to go through and look at your risks and your issues and make sure those things are actually being mitigated and addressed. So that might be part of your Monday time blocker, is to go through and do a full check, see where you've got overdue items, how many block stories you have, what's your sprint velocity, are you kind of on target for where you're heading, how are your risks and issues, do you have a bunch of open risks that haven't been mitigated, do you have any active issues that are going to become a problem down the line. Use that 30-minute block at the beginning of the week to really go in and do kind of your deep dive. And I definitely, again, recommend that you form a checklist. If you're trying to do this off the top of your head without any dashboards or reporting or any plan as to how you're going to review your projects, you're going to forget things and you're going to miss them and they're going to fall through the cracks. But as project managers, we are expert planners. We're great at organizing. We're great at checklists. So make sure you have one for yourself as well as your team. Then when you're going through that daily, 10 or 15 minutes, whatever you can spare, I would say during that one, you're looking for things that need immediate attention. So the blockers for your team, that would be a big one for the daily. Do you have any new blocks that's keeping your team from moving forward? Overdue tasks, that's another one. These things should be on your project dashboards if you're using a tool set. If you're not using a tool set, it may be a bit more difficult. I would say, again, start with the checklist, start by manually doing all of these things, and then look at where you can automate them or throw them on a report or dashboard. Work with your development team, whoever's supporting your project tool, to get some of those reports and dashboards built out so it takes you less time over the weeks. But always start with that checklist, always start with manually pulling what you need so that you can identify the exact metrics that are going to help drive that project forward. So that is the biggest thing, is making sure you have time to actually manage your projects and not just spend all of your time in meetings, because that is a very easy trap to get into as a project manager. You need to make sure all the meetings occur. But you know what? If you have a good team and your team is trained well, yes, you need to coordinate the meetings, but you don't always have to attend the meetings or pay attention during the meetings, because your team members should be running those and they should be executing them well. And if you've got team members who are not able to run a meeting well, that's a training opportunity. So go see what you can do about that. Talk to their lead, their supervisor, talk to your own lead or supervisor about getting some training for that person. And the great thing about training someone up is you can teach them exactly how you want them to do it. So make sure that those opportunities are taken care of as well to free up some of your time so that you can actually go in and make sure your projects are managed. And finally, communication. So when you find these things, you need to make sure you're escalating where it's appropriate. So if you have risks that haven't been mitigated, make sure your manager is aware, make sure the project sponsor is aware, make sure the PM on the other side of the fence is aware of what's going on, what's out there, what needs to be addressed. Make sure you are communicating. Don't just go check all these metrics and keep it to yourself. Communicate with your team when you've got overdue tasks. If you've got someone who has repetitive overdue tasks, talk to their manager, talk to their lead, find out what's going on. Make sure you don't have a resource constraint going on, something that you're not aware of. So communicate, and make sure you block off time. There's lots of other tips and tricks for running projects, but I'd say those are two of the biggest ones. So hope you enjoyed that. We'll touch base in another week or so, and have a great day. Thank you.